All right, hello Tide fans, welcome back. Season 4 of Tide Talk. I'm here with my buddy Jimmy, buddy Mo, coming off of a huge year last year, national championship. Got a sneaky suspicion that we're going to be chasing another national championship. But Mo, what I want to do is just comment on your hair. Man, you still got it going on.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate that. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of hair products.
A lot of hair products.
Thank you.
That's what Jimmy was mentioning just a minute ago.
It looks good. You got a good look going.
Okay.
No. So here's what I'd like to do, Maurice. I'd like to just get. We've talked for a couple of years. We've talked for a couple of years about Pete Golding, and
I've always supported.
You've always been a Golding fan.
Yeah, roll the tapes.
Right. Let's go back and look at that.
Okay.
But Maurice, listen. If this year isn't his year, does he stay or go? I mean,
well, if he can't dominate with the talent level on that defense, and there's probably only been one other team I've seen that's non-Alabama where all 11, well, two of them, that all 11 can play in the NFL. I'm talking within the first 3 rounds being picked is this defense. So the talent is definitely there. If he has a Ole Miss game like last year, Florida scored some points on us, Ohio State scored more than they should have, then you got to take a look at it because this defense is going to be gone next year. I hate to look ahead. I know we got to play this year, but this defense
take it to snap yet.
Right. But this defense is stacked.
So what you're saying, Maurice, if I heard you correctly,
yes,
is if he don't do it this year.
Now, I would say yes. It's just I'm going out on a limb.
Going out on a limb saying yes.
You know, I wouldn't go as far to say that I could coach this defense because I've never coached a down football in my life. But yes, I agree. This is the year for Golding to prove that he's a coordinator that can be there maybe for the years to come. We are as deep as I've ever seen us, I think, in the Saban era. Probably maybe in the history of Alabama football. We're as deep as I've ever seen us.
You say the front 7. I'm saying the back 7.
Well, remember, yes, we are. But I mean, we are specifically deep in the front 7. I mean, he talked about it the other day that we've got 9 D-line. We're not talking about
the secondary.
The linebackers that walk down. We're talking about 9 defensive linemen that play 2 spots.
Yeah, but look at the secondary.
Listen,
I remember what he said after the Clemson game where they stomped us 2018. He says it's going to take a while to replenish.
Right.
We lost a lot of secondary. It just takes time.
Here it is.
Right.
Good gracious.
It's almost cliche to say, every year, we reload, but we also say, we've got our backups could start for other teams. Well, our backups could go play for other teams this year, I think. I mean, it's stupid how talented we are.
I mean, we cut up all the time. I'll tell folks that, it's easy coaching Barry Bonds. Is that this level? I mean, it's what you just said. You've never coached down football in your life, but you believe you can coach this defense. Is that the level where we are?
Well, I think they've gotten to this level because of coaching, specific individual coaching as far as, that position goes.
Not giving any credit to Golding right there, are you?
I think the linebackers look good.
No way he's giving any credit to Golding.
But, no, I mean, I'm not saying that. If the guy, put it this way, if the guy can dial up something and keep a good offense at bay, I'm not talking about the likes of Kentucky or Arkansas. I'm talking.
You're talking about the Ole Miss, the Ole Miss, the Florida, the Georgia,
and you can best believe that Lane Kiffin already knows. I mean, the guy is an incredibly smart offensive guru that he's figured out ways that's going to try to pick this defense apart. Now, with that talent, the Jimmy and Joes, they're there. So good luck trying to block all this.
Well, let me be this guy or that guy. So, I'm one of these that will always give a little bit of credit to the other side. They have talent as well. They have coaches as well, and they game plan based on our tendencies and whatnot. So I am going to be curious to see how that all comes together for us on this defensive side of the ball. Again, there shouldn't be really any excuses, but you still have to give a little bit of credit over there. I'm most curious, though, with that being said, is how we're going to get off the field on 3rd down, because we seem like we talk about that every year. Because again, people are going to get first down. Go on and tell your brother you're going to get first downs every once in a while. They're going to score.
They got Division I talent too.
They're going to score every once in a while, but they're going to get a first down every once in a while. But I want to see them get off the field more often than not on third down this year.
Well, listen,
we should be able to.
Saban, spoke a lot about it last year. It was to our detriment. I mean, now I say to our detriment, we go undefeated, we win a national championship. But some of those close games that you were talking about, Maurice, the Ole Miss game, early on.
Well, it's the third down that drives Coach Saban crazy. Are the mistakes that you make when you have them third and long, and you give up something. And
he's big on the mental aspect of it.
Exactly. So, I mean, this defense is experienced. There shouldn't be a lot of, supposedly from everything I've read, everybody's on the same page. There's great communication. So there shouldn't be any mental lapses.
I was reading an article not long ago talking about the last time we've had two just killer edge rushers, first round picks were Curry and Copeland. Curry and Copeland. Yeah. Well, think about it. That's CNC, Curry and Copeland, and now Allen and Anderson. Coming off the edge this year. They're two. One of them. Anderson, sophomore All-American, first team All-American projection. Yeah. That joker has to stay another year. I mean, he can't leave and go early. I mean, we noticed it early last year that he was a man among boys as a freshman. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to seeing his progression just with the defense, but now that he understands what his role is, and his role is to get to the quarterback at all costs, I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the defense responds. Yeah. Responds to that. Think about it. You talk about getting off on third down, when somebody misses an assignment. Well, those two guys know what they're doing. I mean, they're going after the quarterback.
Well, now it puts the stress on the opposing team's left and right tackle. As of course,
you got two guys.
You have your best on the left side, but pick your poison now.
That's right.
So you're going to have to double. So now somebody's going to have to step up, or you keep a H-back or a fullback in there, a tight end. There's going to have to be some help. So that's going to limit the number of receivers that they got coming out.
And two, to add to that or build to that is, in our middle, how many, seems like every year we've got that one experienced middle linebacker, but we got that true freshman or that redshirt freshman or sophomore that hadn't really seen a lot of downs. Well, this year again, we don't have that this year either.
And the guy.
I mean, the transfer.
Toto or Tutu.
Yeah,
or
nobody wants to say it.
I'm going
to say Toto.
Henry.
Henry. There we go.
Yeah, so.
I mean, again, he stepped into
taking the mic spot.
Exactly, and calling plays.
He's the signal caller.
And right next to him is an All-American, Mr. Harris. So again, man, we're not going to have any excuses this year.
Remember that. So when I start critiquing, and then y'all make fun of me like you do every year.
We're gonna remind you of that.
Me and
we'll be able to roll the tape.
Me and the local sheriff are always on the same page. I'll just put it that way.
So look, we could spend a lot of time. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Listen, the defense is going to be, I think, the talk. It's going to help us early on. The offense, I think, is going to be really good, extremely balanced. I'm interested to see B-Rob get started, but the defense is going to help us out early on because there's going to be some. You got a quarterback that's never taken a snap before from a starting perspective. He's never taken a snap in Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. He's got some new faces with him. Transfer in from Ohio State, who I think is going to be really, really good. B-Rob is actually getting his first true starting nod. I'm well deserved. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do. He's got the potential to break a lot of records, in my opinion. He's physically made for it. But they're going to help our defense. Not that our defense is going to need a lot of help. I think they're going to help our defense, and our defense is going to help them. I think it's going to end up being, again, there's just so much to talk about in this one show. We're not going to have time to do it all, but we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We'll talk a little bit more about the defense because I want to talk about the secondary. We've spent a lot of time on the front seven and the linebackers. Secondary is going to be pretty stinking good too. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. Hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
College football fans and players both want full stadiums this fall. Let's make sure we can safely make this happen by getting vaccinated. Please get your COVID-19 vaccine. We want Bryant-Denny Stadium loud again this coming season. Roll Tide.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. Right there before the break, we were talking about the defense, how I believe it's going to help out the offense. We spoke a lot about the defensive front and the linebackers and just, you know, the level of talent, the amount of talent, the depth. But I agree with you, Maurice, the secondary is going to be really strong this year all the way around. You know, we are replacing, of course, you know, some first-round draft picks, Surtain. But Job is back. I believe he's a really, really good player.
Right.
And there's a lot of talk about Kool-Aid. You know, there's a lot of talk about him. He's come from Pinson Valley. I actually have a teacher friend that speaks highly of the kid, not just an athlete, but as a kid overall, which is good to hear. But, I mean, they say this kid is super, super talented too, and I'm in agreement with you.
I heard he likes Kool-Aid. So.
Heard he's got a nice deal with Kool-Aid.
Yeah, right.
We need to talk about that too, by the way. I want to get y'all's opinion.
I would name
on
my
that.
kid Mercedes.
Yeah.
So, just saying.
But Maurice,
Sean?
talk about
Okay.
the safety position. Jordan Battle's back. You know, it's his third year, really.
Third year. Supposed to be, in my opinion, he is one of the best in the country, but they didn't have him listed as all SEC, which is kind of a shocker. I think the entire, you know, when you talk about the secondary, it's not just 4, it's usually 6, 7 that, you know, that's going to play within a game. Like you said, Kool-Aid's the new guy, and he's supposed to be a stud. So they're loaded, and the hard thing is going to see where can you get in. Yeah.
How can you fit in?
Right.
Where can you help?
You know, one name too we don't need to forget about,
Daniel Wright.
who was freshman All-American, freshman
I'm
All-SEC.
glad you're bringing it up.
He gets hurt late in the season. Is Mr. Malachi Moore.
Yeah.
He's coming back completely healthy. So, and dude, he was leading us in interceptions and tackles or whatever at one time. So, like I said, he's back. So let's don't forget about him.
And
But I
listen,
think
we
he
all
could be
talked
as
about
good.
him being a Minka Fitzpatrick type of guy.
So he could be.
And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he's in a starting role unless he's at the star position.
He's starting.
Unless he's at the star position. But the way they're talking, we may not run that a whole lot based on the front 7 that we have. And
I mean, that's what we're talking about. How loaded are we where you're trying to figure out ways
to get on the field.
I need to get this guy away. You got to take out a lineman or a linebacker. No, this guy's really good. I want him to play too. So I know everybody may think that we're just tooting our own horns.
Good problem to have.
Right.
You know, good problem to have. And I agree, Jimmy. Last year, Malachi Moore impressed me early on. He did get hurt late and didn't play in the last couple of games. But you're talking about a guy that's healthy now and had that first half like he had last year. I mean, and we're all talking about him being Minka Fitzpatrick lookalike type, you know, playing like him and that sort of thing. So I'm excited to see. I agree. Daniel Wright is another guy that probably didn't get a lot of recognition but played extremely well. There's just so much talent on the defensive side of the ball. I hope that the rat poison doesn't get to them. I hope that they have something to prove. You know, that's difficult. We talk about it every single year when you're ranked number 1 or when you have the number 1 recruiting class or you're ranked in the top 3 every single year. You know, the job that Saban does getting these guys ready to play every single game. And I hope that that's the case here. I hope that
You got one other distraction other than, I mean, it happens for everybody. Number 1 is get the big head because you win and it's my turn. Now everybody's got a little cash in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And I say a little. I mean, to see what the Ohio State freshman got today, $1.4 million, to which Bryce Young is probably going, thank you very much. I'm going to up mine as well. 1.4. So.
No, I did not see that, by the way.
So if he's getting that, and that's what we've become is, and you know, as far as you're talking about kids that have worked to strive to get to the next level, because there is a nice payday. You can't tell me another better starting job out of college than getting paid that. So you got kids now in college that are going to be making that. Do they become comfortable? Or are you
Or
hungry?
the reverse of that, does it motivate them even more if they see that guy over here that maybe be an All-American or you know, somewhere along those lines, getting that paycheck in college? Now is that going to make me work even harder so I can get that same paycheck, that same recognition, that same deal?
Don't know. I mean, that's what I mean. It adds another
that remains
wrinkle.
to be seen.
It adds another wrinkle.
There's a lot of opinions about that. That's something we can talk about a little bit later. I do have an opinion. I've always said.
You have an?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine that I have an opinion.
Okay.
I've always said that the guys that make a lot of money for the university ought to get something. I'm not saying they should get 1.4 million. I mean, as a freshman.
Here's the thing, and everybody can say, well, it's that way for all of college.
Not all.
Not really.
Not all.
Because Alabama is the gold standard, and that's where a lot of advertisers or companies are going to go to first.
I said it early on when this came out, when it first started taking place. The guy said early on, I mean, that's an Alabama deal. It isn't a McKinstry deal or a Bryce Young deal. That's an Alabama deal.
Right.
I mean, the guy hadn't even taken a snap yet, and
calm down.
he's making $1 million.
He's getting worked up, ain't he?
Well, again, man, I don't know what's right or wrong with respect to that. I do believe the guys that sell all the jerseys, the Tuas and the Jalen Hurts and the Derrick Henrys.
I mean, you still get number 34 being sold at Auburn and Athens, so it means something.
Yeah.
Well, I think that NIL stuff that's going on is just the start of what's about to happen in college football.
Agreed.
Again, we could talk about the additions to the league. We could talk about what's going on with
In
the
the
Pac-12
Pac-12
and all that stuff. I mean, the landscape of college football is changing. And that's just one of the ways it's changing. And who knows what it's going to look like 5 or 10 years from now.
Are you talking cryptocurrency? Is that what you're talking
Maybe.
about?
We are not talking.
Maybe.
That could
Matter of fact, I need to check my portfolio to see what it did today.
Wow. I wish I had a portfolio. But go ahead. I digress.
But that is something that I believe could potentially impact the game. How are players going to respond to that? And like you said, it could be a positive. Could make Jimmy work harder. On the flip side, it could be a negative.
Right.
You know, they could sit on that deal and, hey, I'm making 1.4 million as a freshman. You know, I can coast.
Excuse me, I would prefer to be the guy with the deal and Mo's having to work hard to get to where I'm at.
That's just how it came out, Jimmy. That's just how it came out. Okay. I could have said Little Johnny.
But you got the new shoes.
I do have the new shoes.
By the way, check out the new Hey Dudes.
The new
Alabama
dudes.
Hey Dudes.
And hey, you expect to check them out for that.
Too bad they didn't sell you
my new Bama
a
shoes.
pair of socks with that. But go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I'm still trying to figure out what socks to wear with these things. But yeah, I love my new.
Well, we've eliminated one pair.
Well, I'm glad somebody got something new to wear. I mean, I'm glad we all got the red memo, the crimson memo.
Yeah.
I just got the hair gel.
And the hair gel.
Thank you.
So again, we're going to take a break in just a minute. We'll come back and talk about the offense because there's a lot to discuss there. We could talk again a whole show about the offense. You made the statement about, you know, how do you replace Mac Jones? Maybe the best offense.
He is the best. I mean, I've never thought I'd ever see anybody complete over 71%. And he broke Joe Burrow's record the year before.
Right.
I said that would never happen.
Right. Exactly.
That's unheard of.
Arguably one of the best offenses ever.
Yes.
The best ever.
You know, and so, man, you're talking about guys having shoes to fill. I mean, these guys have shoes to fill. But as we've talked about, reload. You know, it's next man up. It's your time. You know, so let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the offense. We'll talk about a little bit about the game with Miami this Saturday, and we'll see how we fare.
This Saturday?
This Saturday at 3:30. As a matter of fact.
I changed my schedule. Okay.
All right, hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Hey, Big Al, you need to be staying 6 feet away from me. And haven't I told you you have to wear a mask when you're in this building?
I mean, come on, Big Al. We're supposed to be practicing social distancing, which means we have to be 6 feet away from each other. Don't worry, Big Al. We've all been there before, buddy. Let's go get you a mask.
All of us want to make sure we play football this fall. And to make that happen, we must be sure we stay at home if we have symptoms, wash your hands often, follow all social distancing guidelines, and please wear a mask anytime you're around other people.
Now? Okay.
Right
Go.
now, you want to bring us in? You want to bring us in? No?
Welcome back, Tide fans. Which one's my camera? Okay.
That right there.
And now here's Sean.
All right, Tide fans. As I mentioned, we could talk an entire show about the offense. Jimmy, you made a very good point in the break, and I want to talk about that.
Thank you.
You know, your point about not comparing. That's already taken place. How's this offense going to deal with that?
I don't know. How are they going to deal with that? As fans, again, we can't get caught up in trying to figure out or try to compare, last year's offense to really this year's offense to any offense coming up in the future. Because, man, that's historically was the best we'll probably ever see in probably my lifetime. So it's going to be interesting. We have a lot of shoes to fill, obviously, a lot of big shoes to fill. I think you mentioned that. And so it will definitely be fun to watch that this year. I think we're going to be fine on that side of the ball, depending on what your definition of fine is.
But everybody knows what Alabama's definition of fine is.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're not going to be near as good as this past year.
Maurice, in relation to that,
Yeah.
with respect to what he's saying, it goes back to that NIL thing. Does it make this offense want to work harder so that they can be the offense that we're talking about?
I don't know. I just don't think it's really there. So I think it's going to be a defensive year all around the SEC, especially at Alabama. I just wasn't. I think you're going to go back to the years where we didn't have a quarterback like a Tua and Mac Jones. That you're going back to a game manager.
You can go back to a Jake Coker, A.J. McCarron.
Yes. Well, AJ's first, sophomore year starting. I don't think. Well, I don't know if Bryce Young will ever be that, but I don't think coming out of the gate by any means is he going to. I'm not a fan of his size. I saw some challenges in the spring game with him. I think we have enough running backs that can, pick it up and go with it. And I think we got some outstanding receivers, but that's like owning the best bullets, but you don't have the gun to shoot it out of. Because I think he's a phenomenal talent, good legs, but I don't put somebody at quarterback to run the ball.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a challenge to compare last year to this year. It's not
even in the same.
No way. No.
And again, I do agree, Jimmy. It's not fair. I mean, that's a special group last year. Special group. As a competitor, though, I mean, Bryce Young, as an example. Not to say that he's trying to compare himself to Mac Jones, but as a competitor, he wants to be in the conversation at the University of Alabama like Mac Jones.
So did I. But didn't happen.
Yeah, the fear though too is he going to
at some point we got to look in the mirror though and say,
the thing about me and Bryce Young, we can see eye to eye. That's the problem.
Yeah. But the fear is he going to try to do too much or try to live up to some of these expectations and pass
that's a good
quarterbacks?
spin on it.
Is he going to try to force that pass? Is he going to try to do too much outside of his?
I think you will see that just because based on what I hear and based on what I read. He's that type of guy. I mean, he's fast. He uses his legs. Got a strong arm. They say he's got a powerful arm. So I think you will see that probably early just because of nerves and expectations, and he wants to do well. I will think you'll see him settle in because Nick Saban's not going to allow him to continue to make mistakes like that. And I think you will see him settle in and use the talent that's around him, like you said. I mean, we're loaded at running back. We're loaded. Go back to what you made the statement earlier about our backups can be backups, can start. Our 2 and 3 guy can go start anywhere in the country. And, with getting in the Jamison Williams kid from Ohio State, the transfer, man, that just helped our already good
Well, that gives us that
core.
1-2 punch we've had the last few years with Mechie
and him.
So
Slade Bolden, you can't forget Slade Bolden.
I am excited about watching those two play for sure. The running backs, every year, I'm not going to say we're as good as we were last year or the year before as far as the depth and talent, but you're right. We are loaded at running back.
And Trey Sanders is back healthy.
And Jason McClellan, I'm telling you, that kid's going to be
Roy
dynamic. He's going to be somebody that we're going to.
We ought to go back to the wishbone. That many running backs and a fast quarterback like that, just pitch it and run. Let's go.
And that's going to help Bryce. we can lean on the running back. You know, we can. Of course, our tight ends. We can talk about them. So we've got stuff there to work with. Of course, offensive line. We're still kind of piecing that back together. Yes, we have a lot of guys coming back that got some starts, but they got starts because we were beating people by 4 and 5 touchdowns every game. It seemed like. So only 2 returning starters.
Speaking of offensive line, let me give a shout out to a Phoenix City guy, Javion Cohen.
Oh.
He's going to be starting for the University of Alabama. So
That's right.
Javion, congratulations, man. Go back to CFA days when you were walking the halls at CFA. But yeah, that's awesome to see. I mean, that kid was at school where I was assistant principal at the time, and just to see him grow, and literally, I mean, he's a massive guy. It's super cool to see him get the chance to be a starter and have an impact on that offense. And as we said, I mean, two returning starters, you know, guys with some playing time, but 2 actual starters coming back in Evan Neal and Chris Owens, and I think Tommy Brown was the other guy.
So let me throw another name out there for you, or to you, that we need to remember and keep an eye on. That I think when it's all said and done, he's going to be one of our next best greats guys.
Who?
Jojo.
Jojo?
Remember the name Jojo, Tide fans. True freshman. He's already being compared to Waddle as far as his explosiveness. He's the first team punt returner as a true freshman. He's second on the depth chart behind Slade Bolden in that H-back spot,
Yeah.
I believe it is.
Little slot spot.
Jojo Earl, I think Earl is his last name.
Oh, that's exactly right.
I thought you were talking about the linebacker.
But Jojo, remember that name.
Jojo Earl.
He's going to be our next.
Can I remember Earl? That's easier. It's one syllable.
Whatever is easiest for you.
Thank you. I don't like difficult. So, Jojo Earl.
We hadn't really spoken about special teams a whole lot. We got an All-American guy coming back.
All-American kicker.
Sheriff Taylor.
Just saying, Sheriff.
All-American kicker coming back.
Technically, he wasn't All-American.
I don't care what he says. He was an All-American.
He didn't miss, but he
Well, I'm going to tell you, the Joker was perfect on the year. He may not have gotten the award by the press. He was an All-American. Make no mistake about it.
I'm just being factual.
And
I want to get on me about
It's going to be
Mac.
fun. What do y'all think about our
Aussie.
Australian style kicker that's coming in to punt
punter.
for us? That's going to be fun to watch.
I mean, there was some conversation about that, and Saban said he had numerous
He puts a little English on the ball.
ways to
use
punt
that.
the ball and how he uses those different styles. So
And
it
hey,
will be interesting.
You know,
to
think
see.
about it too. That's another way Saban kind of changes with the time. He's always been traditional, and I'm not saying we won't ever go back to that. But you know, he's seen all these other colleges using
Doing
those,
it.
and here we are we got one now.
So we open with Miami and Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Dome. I mean, you know, they're number 14 in the country. We're preseason number 1 in the country. You guys believe that they're trying to hype this game up because it's going to be a little bit more of a blowout than what they're saying on the TVs. What do you think?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
there's
Yes.
only 2 things I can think that Miami's got going for them. One is Derek King coming back. He started at Houston. He started at Miami. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL last year, so he's now hasn't
Coming
really
back from
played.
injury.
And Rhett Lashley, who was at Auburn, who he had a couple of wins against Saban in the defenses. However, there's no there. And I watched a special on them the other night, comparing their practices to ours. You know, it's like y'all need to get out of the 80s and 90s and stop living on what you think is your legacy. It's just not there. You need to focus on what you have to do at each position to get better. And they're not. They're worried about the bling. And
Right.
so
Right.
I think it's going to be, with our defense, it's going to be a long afternoon.
Yeah, I expect our backups to play
Early.
well, I don't know about early, but they'll play. I think they'll play most of the second half. If Saban wants to put them in, but I think we'll have that kind of lead.
I think the
I'll be
spread's
surprised.
17,
19, I checked it.
19.
So, later.
So score prediction?
I mean, the only reason why we wouldn't cover that is if, like, say, Saban calls off the dogs at halftime, we play our second and third string, which still don't mean we won't cover. But
Which is likely.
my prediction, you know, again, a lot to a little. I don't think it's going to be close, honestly. I mean, if we want to score 40 or 50 points, we probably could. And defense, like I say, I don't think they're going to give up much.
37-10, if that's conservative.
I'm going 45-10. I told a buddy of mine.
So you think they're going to score one more touchdown than my prediction?
I said, yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe we probably could score more than that, but
Yeah.
I told a buddy of mine in the summer, Coach Dusty Purdue over at Glenwood, I said, we're going to beat them by 35. And he was like, man, are you serious? He goes, are you just one of those Alabama fans? I said, no. I said, I believe our defense is so good.
Here's the one thing. Sorry to interrupt. I don't know what Miami has done in the past 20 years that gives them any credibility of being
Puts them in this game.
puts them in a conversation of being one of the best teams in the country. I'm sorry, there's no there.
Right.
And they're living on hype and all this, their last names of, some of their dads that played there or whatever. It's like, no. And it's not there. And I'm not a big fan of the head coach. I thought he was a mediocre defensive coordinator, and now he's a head coach there, but okay.
Well, they may end up being decent in the ACC, but they don't have a chance in this game, in my opinion.
Well, we're going to find out come 3:30 on Saturday afternoon. So we'll be right here again next week. We'll break the game. We'll break it down. We'll talk about our next opponent, and we'll see how we fare this weekend. All right. We'll see y'all next week right here on Tide Talk. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.